We have all heard about the two atomic bombs dropped by the United States on Japan during the Second World War. More than 200,000 people lost their lives in an instant between the two cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Before we begin, remember to hit the subscribe button to be a part of our community. Thanks for being here. Now let's get started. The bombings were not only a tragedy for Japan, but also for the world because they marked the beginning of the atomic age. At the time, he worked for a company that was moving its operations from Hiroshima to Nagasaki. He managed to contact his company and let them know that he was alive. They told him to stay put and they would come to rescue him, but nobody came. But when he arrived, he found that the city had been badly damaged by air raids and there was nothing to be had. He returned to Hiroshima and continued to help the survivors. So he decided to return to Hiroshima to see if there was anything he could do to help. Finally, on September 2nd, 1945, Japan surrendered and the war was over. He had just arrived in Nagasaki the day before and was staying at a hotel near the train station. I want them to know what terrible things happened during the war so that they will never forget the lessons of the past. He testified before the United Nations and other international bodies about the destruction and suffering that these weapons cause. He said, "I feel that it is my duty to tell the world what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki so that such tragedies will never repeat themselves." However, Dr. Gale also acknowledges that there is a certain amount of luck involved in surviving such a catastrophic event. He also became an anti-war activist and he campaigned against the use of nuclear weapons. One possible explanation is that they were simply in the right place at the right time. For example, many of them were in shelters when the bombs exploded, which shielded them from the blast and radiation. Others were far enough away from the hypocenters to avoid the worst of the damage. According to records from the Japanese government, 84 people were known to have survived both bombings. In fact, some survivors didn't even realize that they had been exposed to radiation until years later when they developed health problems. This is the observation that Japan has a high rate of cancer survivors, especially among those who have been exposed to high levels of radiation. Most of them were in the military like Mr. Yamaguchi. Mr. Yamaguchi died in 2010 at the age of 93, but his story continues to live on through the testimony he gave and the work he did to promote peace and understanding. Others believe that it is due to environmental factors, such as the high levels of antioxidants in Japanese food. Whatever the explanation, it is clear that the Japanese terrain effect played a role in the survival of some of the atomic bomb survivors. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to be a part of our community. See you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. But the exact number of survivors is unknown. The point on the ground directly below the nuclear device at the time of the explosion. Those who are further away are less severely affected. In addition, Dr. Gale believes that Mr. Yamaguchi's good health and youth may have helped him to survive. Buildings were burnt to ashes, corpses lay strewn across the ground, and survivors wandered through the streets in shock. He later recalled, "It was horrible. I had never seen such a thing." Los Angeles and a leading expert on the health effects of nuclear weapons, Mr. Yamaguchi's survival can be explained by the fact that he was not exposed to the full force of the explosions. This bomb was even more powerful than the one that had fallen on Hiroshima, and it caused even more devastation. But he was in a shelter at the time, and so he was not exposed to the blast or the radiation. When he emerged from the shelter, he learned that Nagasaki was in ruins and that thousands of people had been killed or injured. He helped the survivors as best he could and then made his way to a refugee camp. He was reunited with his wife and 2 daughters, who had also survived the bombing. But strangely, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was not affected by it. "I felt like the only living person left in the world." He spent the night in a hospital ward full of wounded people. There were so many patients and not enough beds, so he slept on the floor next to a woman who had been injured by a shard of glass. She died in the middle of the night, and he was forced to roll her over so that she wouldn't choke on her blood. When he heard a loud noise, he thought it might be a military aircraft. He went out onto the street to look for the source of the noise. It wasn't until he saw the mushroom cloud that he realized what had happened. He later said, "I don't know why, but I thought I should go to the hills. I ran there without knowing what I was going to do. As he climbed the mountain, he could hear the screams of people who had been burned alive. He continued to climb until he reached a cave where he hid for the rest of the day. But it is also a testament to human resilience that some people survived this terrible catastrophe. In this episode, we will tell you the story of the man who survived both atomic bombs. At 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber, known as the Enola Gay, dropped an atomic bomb over Hiroshima. The explosion was so powerful that it could be seen from more than 50 miles away. The mushroom cloud reached a height of 12 miles, and the fireball was about 4 miles wide. Within a few seconds, the heat from the bomb melted all the glass in the city. A strong wind spread the fire to nearby buildings. Within minutes, 80% of the homes in Hiroshima had been destroyed and tens of thousands of people were dead. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was one of the lucky ones. He was in Nagasaki when the bomb exploded in Hiroshima. When he came out of the cave, he saw that the city was in ruins and filled with dead bodies. When he arrived in Hiroshima, he found a scene of total devastation. The city was a scene of indescribable devastation. The next morning, he caught a train to Tokyo where he hoped to find food and supplies to bring back to Hiroshima. On August 9, 1945, 3 days after the bombing of Hiroshima, another atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. He had been working in Nagasaki when the second bomb exploded. In the months that followed, he and his family lived in a refugee camp while they waited for the war to end. In the aftermath of the war, Tsutomu Yamaguchi became an important witness to the horrors of nuclear weapons. He later said, "I want to tell the young people of the world that war is hell." But what did the doctors say about the case? According to Dr. Robert A. Gale, a professor of medicine at the University of California, Dr. Gale said it is well known that the most severe effects of the bombs are seen in those who were close to the hypocenter. We know that younger people and those in good health are better able to withstand the effects of radiation, he said. Mr. Yamaguchi was not the only person to survive both bombs. So how did they survive? However, it is also possible that some of them were exposed to low levels of radiation without showing any symptoms. In addition to being in the right place at the right time, the survivors may have also benefited from a phenomenon known as the Japanese terrain effect. Some researchers believe that this is due to the genetic makeup of the Japanese people, which may make them more resistant to the effects of radiation. Of the 84 people known to have survived both bombs, only a small number are still alive today. His story is a reminder of the terrible power of nuclear weapons and the importance of working towards a world free of them. What do you think about the story of the man who survived both atomic bombs? Let us know in the comments below.